Hey guys, I'm Joey and I'm currently a student at MBS. And at MBS, we have a class called TED, which is where we discuss TED Talks. We watch TED Talks and we answer the 7 conversational questions, which are like in a nutshell, what does which author wish to argue, what have they experienced, what are some key concepts. And each of these things are supposed to help us learn more and um, explain why they're making the argument and for what reason. So we've watched 5 talks now, I believe, and one of the talks we watched was The Power of Vulnerability. Um, Vulnerability is a very deep thing. A lot of people feel that if they're vulnerable, they're weak, and that's not the case. One of the things that she mentioned was that if you're vulnerable, that you're alive and you need to feel vulnerable in order to feel joy. And you need to feel, and when you feel vulnerable, it may feel painful, but like it also can bring the happiness and the joy into your life. Um, I feel like this resonates because if you feel vulnerable, then um, you'll get more out of life in a way. And it was kind of a life changing moment for her. And she realized that she needed that in order to be happy and to find her true self through that. And oftentimes, I think that, like, as a daily reference in classes, we feel like we can't be vulnerable or we can't speak up because we're afraid that the answer that we give is going to be wrong. And that kind of refers to another TED Talk, which is "Do Schools Kill Creativity" by Ken Robinson. Um, Ken Robinson's talk was about how schools are just medicating kids and not letting them be them, particularly for a dancer that he mentions. Um, and if we are educated that way, there's no way that we can be diverse and we can stand out. At MVS particularly, we are very academically driven. So basically, it's like go to high school, get good grades, go to college, um, graduate college, and then do big things. And oftentimes at MVS, we're very like narrow-minded when it comes to a broader view surrounding that, which that can be our school killing our creativity, though there are also many teachers who embrace that and tell us to not do what everybody says we should, to a limit. Of course, that doesn't involve like crime, but when um, when my twin went to MBS, she was constantly struggling in the core subjects to the point where she just didn't want to go anymore, and she couldn't because so many people were so competitive. And if you said a wrong answer, you got a bad grade. So many people would say things that could hurt your feelings, um, and that can also lead into the third talk that we watched, which is Amy Cuddy's "Do Our Body Language Shape Our Mind?" Um, they do she says that if you stand in a power pose, you're going to feel more powerful. You're going to feel like you can conquer things. You're going to be more confident, answer questions, and you aren't going to let people shoot you down, which is something that I feel like could be good for some students at MBS to know before they go into a test, because so many people walk in it and they say to themselves like that they're going to fail the test, or that the worst thing that they get a B, and they're like, oh my god, I failed that. Okay, you didn't fail it. You got a B, and so many people at MVS think that that's not okay, which is part of the narrow-mindedness that comes with the school. Um, while I think a lot of teachers are getting past that and try to make a point that it is okay, a lot of times they mentally aren't saying to themselves that it's okay, which is partially the students killing their own creativity or each other's creativity because they become so competitive with one another. So basically, those 3 talks are kind of like meshed together. I know specifically for me when I'm in school, 85% of the time I probably won't answer a question unless I'm 100% sure of my answer, or I won't ask any questions until after the class because I feel like I'm wasting people's time or like people already know the information and they want to move on. And so I go in on my own time, and that's just my way of like coping with it, with everybody being like, oh my god, I gotta be. But with riding, like, I ride horses, and so there I feel much more confident to ask questions and answer questions and try new things, which I think is part of the people who you're around, and depending on who you're around, what you're going to say or what you're going to answer. Because if you think somebody has the better answer, the correct answer, like, you're less likely to say something. But I encourage you to speak up. I encourage you to answer questions, ask questions. Um, so, yeah, thanks for listening.